You know, I've seen some movies not do well. Maybe they find a cult following in time, home streaming, cable, you name it. But with Joker 2, Folie, I had never seen anything like it before. And this could have major ramifications for DC Studios and your common collector and what happens next. Whether this guy has what it takes to save an entire cinematic universe. Folks, you're watching Black Genghis Live. Welcome to Black Genghis Live. I'm your host, KJ, aka Black Genghis. And after taking a nice little break, I'm back at it like mathematics, back on the live stream. And we're going to hop right into it without a moment delay. But first, let me go ahead and holler at the chat. Son of a Crayon Slayer, one of the best named YouTube folks online. Thank you very much for joining. Trey, what's up, man? Good seeing you. And congrats once again on a successful launch of Action Figure Alliance, currently streaming right now on YouTube. And also Sherlock Customs. Dude, thank you for joining as well, man. We're going to go ahead and get right into it. This movie, Joker, Folie Deux. I'm a fan of DC. I love Batman, love Superman, love all that stuff. And whenever a DC movie doesn't do well, it scares me. It scares me a lot. And you'll see later on in the episode what I'm talking about. This one in particular, the first Joker movie got $1 billion. Joaquin Phoenix got a Best Actor Oscar for it. And it seemed to have an impact as far as discussion about mental health, mental illness, how we vilify people who actually need our help, that kind of thing. And it was a really great portrait. The sequel is not that. It's a hybrid musical, co-starring Lady Gaga, who I'm a humongous fan of, and basically it does kind of what Chicago did a couple decades ago, where the music is really in their head, right? It's not really diegetic, or they'll just start singing and then the music comes along. And with the musical, usually it can help elevate what they're feeling and whatnot. The only problem with Joker Folie Deux that it's not just a musical, it's also a courtroom drama. It spends a lot of time in the courtroom. And when it does its musicals, it's not really pulling from old Hollywood. It's really pulling from like stuff like Sonny and Cher, Variety Hour, that kind of stuff. It's really like honed in. So it feels like watching TV on the big screen versus a big old school Hollywood musical. Now, I still dug some parts of it. It was a choice. It was a very risky movie, but I did not think that it was going to take the shellacking that it did at the theaters. This movie cost about 190 million. A lot of that went to Joaquin Phoenix, Lady Gaga, and director co-writer Todd Phillips. And with Lady Gaga, she's old school because she can sing, she can dance, she can act. She kind of belongs in that older realm of Hollywood movies, of Hollywood musicals. And there's not too many places you can put her. Maybe A Star is Born or something like that. But you had to fully utilize her talents. And I think they sculpted the movie around her, but they didn't fully commit. So instead of doing a full balls-to-wall musical about Arthur Fleck going full Joker, they kind of made a half-assed, morose movie about a Joker who didn't really want to be Joker. I think it was a mistake. And unfortunately, it was a costly mistake because Lady Gaga is pretty good in it. And so's Phoenix. But I think it's a movie that's really only made for an audience of one, and that's Phoenix himself. Answering some questions from the chat. Yes, they went from making a profound, unique statement to sponging up whatever money they could get. It's a shame. Yes, I think this was a big-time money play. The first movie only cost $55 million. This was 4 times that, and a lot of that money was pocketed. Sherlock also says this is definitely outside of what will be the Gunverse, right? Yes, DC Studios does not cover this. This is more Elseworlds. DC Studios is its own thing. Now, I think it looked fantastic. I saw it on IMAX. The money's on screen, but it still felt closer to the budget of the first movie, 55, 60, $75 million. This doesn't look like a $200 million movie. I don't know where the money went. That's the first thing that's off. But Gaga, she goes 100%. She does what she was asked to do. And I think that, frankly, if you were going to introduce Harley Quinn into this version of Joker, Harley Quinn shouldn't be put with a Joker who doesn't know whether he wants to be Joker or not. That's not why you bring in Harley Quinn, let alone a Lady Gaga Harley Quinn. So like I said, this movie was really made for an audience of one. I think Joaquin Phoenix said that he dreamt up parts of this movie before they ended up shooting, writing it, and committing it to film. This is one of those things where once you get final cut, the studio, like, you made us $1 billion. Hey, man, we'll leave you alone. Make us another $1 billion. But sometimes you need that person to say, like, hey, I don't know about this. What about doing this, right? So the movie bombs, and it's going to have an impact. It's going to have an impact because it's another bomb in a long string of bombs. This was one of those things where, because Todd Phillips got final cut on Joker 2, there's going to be a lot of filmmakers that don't get to have final cut, where Warner Brothers says, you're not going to do that. No matter how much money you made us, we're going to do something else. We need you to do this, right? And that's going to have a long-term impact because it means you're going to see less movies take risks like this. And movies that are risky, they just need to be better than this movie was. The first movie had a big impact, and we'll talk about that with how that affected collecting premium adult collectibles and everything else. Trey asks, so is this one that could be completely recut into a decent film, or is it that bad? It's interesting. You could cut out, say, the musical aspects. You could cut out the non-musical aspects and just make it a straight-up musical, right? I think conceptually, this was about not fulfilling the promise of the first movie, that this Arthur Fleck would one day become a version of Joker that would menace Gotham City. This is not that movie. Shout out to Todd C. Thanks for joining me. Good seeing you. This is a different movie. And it's interesting. I'm forgiving of movies that take different tones, different aspects. But this guy was a dude who executed a night show host on live television who murdered his own mother. That's not the guy that waffles between becoming Joker or not. By the time the first Joker movie ends, that dude's on his way, right? So it makes me wonder if they were afraid of the reception that it got, if they were afraid of, like, incels, copycats, God forbid that there would be another copycat shooter like there was, sadly, on Aurora, Colorado when The Dark Knight Rises came out and someone was emulating Heath Ledger's Joker and ended up shooting an audience. I think they were afraid of that, and so they were trying to backpedal from that. But those are different times. I think you just have to just make art and just make it what it is. We, the audience, had to be responsible with how we consume art. Sherlock says, it is really disjointed and disconnected from the first, but I don't want to spoil it by saying how. Me neither. I was dissatisfied with it, but if people are curious, you'll be able to watch this on Max pretty soon. But once again, it was like, who was this for? It's like, this is not a crowd pleaser, not the way that Deadpool and Wolverine was and whatnot. You want to put butts in seats. This was a victory lap. And with victory lap movies, you got to be careful, because victory lap movies, they kind of don't care what you want. They don't care what the audience wants. It's like, we did this, we made $1 billion, now I get to do whatever I want. This is whatever I want to do. Megalopolis was kind of the same way. But Megalopolis was more enjoyable than this, just for how frenetic and crazy it was. A crazy movie. This movie is boring. That's the worst thing you can do with the movie. I'd rather have this movie be crazy, rambling, frothing at the mouth, like Megalopolis was. This movie is not that. This movie is a wet piece of toast. even though there were parts that I still enjoyed with how they treated the musical elements in the cinematography from Lawrence Sher. Um, but yeah, this was not a thank you to the fans. This wasn't a celebration to the fans, celebration of the crowd, of the source material, excuse me, or of even the first movie. Like, it's completely separate from that. And it makes me wonder, why did you make this? Sherlock is saying, especially when your original is arguably a victory lap and all you really needed. Exactly. If you were a fan of the first Joker movie, just leave it at that. Just rewatch the first Joker movie. Just rewatch the first Joker movie. Rewatch The Dark Knight with Heath Ledger. Rest in peace. Hell, you could watch friggin' Suicide Squad with Jared Leto. He's a better Joker than what Arthur Fleck is in Folie. I hate to say that, but it's the truth. So even though, like I said, there are parts of it that were very sweet, very poetic visually. Like, it's an incredibly great looking movie. The trailers got butts and seats until the word of mouth took it straight out. It's like, you had to warn people to be like, yo, you may want to just wait for streaming. This is going to come on streaming. Godzilla versus Kong with the streaming. All those movies with the streaming. This will go to streaming if you're that curious. Save the money. Don't worry about parking. Don't worry about babysitters. Just watch this on streaming. And these folks, they got paid, man. They got paid. If I'm not mistaken, I think they each got 20 mil. Todd Phillips may have made 15 mil, but he made some money, and he got Final Cut on top of that. Lady Gaga, I think 20 mil, maybe 12 million, something around that range. Joaquin Phoenix definitely got 20 million for a movie he already won an Oscar for. So when you have these movies, these nothing burgers that are not really made for anyone, we've seen the other end of the spectrum, right? So Joker Folie is the screw you, I'm going to do what I want to do. I don't care what you want to see. This is a movie I wanted to make. Now pay me and watch it. That's not a movie that does well in theaters, right? So what happens when you have movies like this, right? Made by committee, hodgepodge. The director, Nia DaCosta, ends up leaving during post-production to work on something else because she's just tired of the machine, right? So this is like where interference really got in the way of someone's vision because of an interconnected universe, and you have to take house notes, right? Or what about this? Madam Web. I don't know who this was for. This wasn't for me in particular. I don't want to disparage it if it has any fans. Or movie like Shazam! Fury of the Gods. I'm such a DC fan. I saw this in theaters. And I saw this in theaters. And I saw this in theaters. And I loved Furiosa. I don't know where the audience was for that. Furiosa was dope. At least watch this on Max. This was a great prequel to Fury Road. I don't know where this went wrong, but it cost Warner Brothers a lot of money. Quantumania. It's like, who was this for? Kang's supposed to be this big bad threat. He gets aced in one movie, let alone things that happen metatextually in the real world. I mean, that's too bad, man. The dude had the bag. Shout out to Aaron Pierre, who I guess is next up. He got the gig for Lanterns, so good job. The less said, the better. The point is, you want crowd pleasers. If you give the people what you want, if you give the people what they want, they will respond in kind. They will reward you with a shit ton of money. I am not lying. The Comic-Con crowd went nuts for this. So nuts that even after people who were on location at Hall H and got to watch the Celebration of Life screening, no one said a word. I've never seen anything like that. Like, over 1,000 people watched that movie, and they all took a blood oath not to spoil it for anybody. That was dope. That was super dope. By the time I watched it, friends of mine spoiled it because they can't shut up. But it was still an awesome time in the theaters. So yeah, things are not really looking good. Like, they thought Joker 2 was going to make all this money, $100 million debut, and that ended up not being the case. Like, the estimates are still being generous at $40 million. It ended up even being less than that, like more like $37 million. Sherlock is saying, I'm looking forward to Guns DC, but trying hard not to get my hopes up. WB gonna WB. You ain't lying. You ain't lying. I'm patient with DC Studios. I think James Gunn, he's earned his at bat. I think that he has a lot to say about this fellow right here, and I don't think he's going to let us down. I was curious about how the new super suit's looking. I'll be honest, but I trust James Gunn. I've been riding with that dude ever since his Dawn of the Dead screenplay. And shout out to like all the work he did with Trauma and everything else before that, the specials and all that stuff, man. Those do not bet against James Gunn. We'll see. We'll see what next year holds, but it has to work. If Superman doesn't work, this may be the last gasp of DC movies we see, let alone Matt Reeves' Batman or any number of things. This DC universe can end up the same way that pulp heroes like Doc Savage, The Shadow, John Carter. When's the last time you saw a Dick Tracy movie? You see what I'm saying? This stuff can go away. Brands fade out of favor, out of existence. It is what it is. So once again, let's go ahead and go back to this, right? Opened even lower, $37 million, a D cinema score. Nothing gets a D cinema score. Horror movies don't get D cinema scores, right? There are movies out there that have maybe D plus. This one's a solid D. People just were not satisfied with this movie. This is not how you make a movie. I forgive a lot of stuff where it may at least try something different, or just sticks to its balls and say like, hey man, this is the movie. Joker Folie definitely does that. It's not for everybody. It's not for a lot of people, unfortunately. Right. And people are starting to point fingers. People are saying like, hey, this movie's talking about me, and I don't appreciate that. There's a lot of articles, a lot of reading out there about what happened with this movie and why it turned out the way it did. Because if this keeps happening, people aren't going to go to the theaters. People only just now started going to the theaters. All it takes is a movie like this to get them out of that habit, right? You hop in your car. You got your girl with you or whatever. You got your homies with you. You ride out. You go parking here in LA, New York, Chicago, $5, $10. You sit down. You grab a combo. How much for the pizza? Damn, $15. How much for a hot dog and a Coke? $20, right? You have your popcorn. You have your snacks. You sit down. Then you watch this movie. What the fuck did I just watch? And you go home angry. You talk to your friends, angry. You talk to your family, angry. Don't go see this movie. You post it on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever. And it spreads like wildfire. And then the next thing you know, you have a nothing burger that no one even bothers to see, unless maybe they're just curious and there's nothing else on streaming at the moment. So you gotta get this stuff right. Because if you don't, all the good things that are even with bombs and bad movies, no one's going to watch it. No one's going to care. Todd C says you get a solid D. Yeah, exactly. Shout out to Chad Kinsler. Thanks for joining, man. Good seeing you. So how does this affect the collector, right? So with movies and TV shows, ancillaries are a big piece of recouping funds. Sometimes it's not all about box office receipts. It's about selling toys, selling figs. Can we sell this? Can we sell that? This thing, that thing, right? Selling books, selling those spin-off products. So we saw a little bit of that with the first Joker, right? I mean, the first Joker is an extremely well-made movie. It earned its Oscar. It earned its $1 billion. And for years, it was the highest grossing rated R movie until Deadpool and Wolverine came along, right? So Todd C is saying, jokes aside, no pun intended, these bad movies will set all comic book related movies back. Yes, it's bad for the culture, extremely bad for the culture, right? And speaking of the culture, so when you have stuff like this, it inspires people. It inspires great artwork, right? This is an incredible piece of toy art right here. This is a 1/6 figure we got from Hot Toys, Sideshow Collectibles, right? Even third-party stuff. Full-scale busts. The movie was that impactful that it created this premium art realm, and people were buying this stuff to go along with the rest of their DC collection. So when you have movies that underperform, like the sequel does, no one's going to buy this stuff. No one's going to be buying like a Lady Gaga, Harley Quinn action figure or a 1/3 scale, full size scale bust of Harley Quinn from this movie. Like, it's going to be completely uncelebrated. Like, why bother making this movie if it won't last? Is the complete opposite of the first Joker. There's no lasting impact, right? So you don't get those figures. You don't get to add this to your collection. Why bother, right? No one saw the movie, right? Like, look at this. Like, even with something like as plain as this, but it's what it represents, that this guy, this broken, uncontrollable, laughing individual will one day become Batman's nemesis. Except no one's going to be around to watch that happen. No one's going to watch the sequel. You should wait for streaming if you're curious. If you're curious about what they did with this, how they wove the musical elements with it, and what ends up happening at the end. It's very interesting, very controversial. I just wish it did better. I wish it performed, because you're not going to have people shelling out stuff like this, top dollar collectibles, right? We're talking 1,000, 3,000. Like, this movie's not going to inspire that. This movie's not going to generate that kind of stuff. No one's going to care. So it hurts. It hurts to see something as well done and as risk-taking as the first Joker from 2019 end up like this, where you're not even adding to your collection. You're not building out that world or furthering it out with premium collectibles or SH figure arts, third party, that kind of stuff, right? No one's going to care. You got one shot. You have one chance to make this stuff. Yeah. Like, it's a big ending. It's a big ending, right? They took a risk. They took a chance. They really did. Man, it's one of those things where these characters have been along for around a long time. I would have said something like Batman 3 Jokers could have destroyed the character, where it's like, you give me there's 3 of these motherfuckers? What are you talking about? But they've been around for decades, 85 years, 80 plus years. So yeah, I would say wait to see the sequel. This has to work. All right. This movie right here, James Gunn's Superman 2025. This has to work. You had to believe a man will fly. You had to believe a movie can still be good coming from Warner Brothers in DC Studios. If this doesn't work, that's it. There's not going to be a DCU Batman. No one's going to give a shit. There's not going to be a DCU Wonder Woman. Who cares? We cast a new Wonder Woman. Who cares? You can't make these movies. You don't know how. Stop it. That's what's going to happen. There's never been a time like this where one movie decides whether a universe continues. That's crazy. And frankly, that's unfair to the movie. No movie should be under that kind of pressure. Profit director, do not miss your chance to blow, because opportunity comes once in a lifetime, man. You ain't just whistling Dixie. But yeah, no movie should be under that immense amount of pressure. It should just be a good movie, a compelling character, an arc, a change that they go through, the experiences that we share as audiences. I want to be able to buy figures of this Superman. I want the McFarlane Toys version of this. I want to see what Hot Toys and Sideshow Collectibles do. I want to see what the full-scale bust of David Cornsweet looks like. I know I'm butchering his name, but I want to see people build out their world. I want to see these characters continue. It is not fair for one movie to have to save an entire universe just because people don't know what they're doing, right? And I said this before, don't bet against James Gunn. Do not bet against James Gunn. Don't bet against the work that he and his friend and his cohort, Peter Safran, are doing over at DC Studios. I thought Peacemaker was great. It came right on time during the pandemic. I thought the Suicide Squad was fantastic. And if they didn't release it day and date on Max because of COVID theaters and everything else, it probably would have made its money back. Unfortunately, it's another DC bomb, even though I feel like it's one of the better movies that came out of DCEU. So I would say check out The Penguin. The Penguin is actually one of the first DC studio productions that are out right now. I think it's fantastic work. Colin Farrell, once again, completely disappears into this character It's a limited series, about 8 episodes. They may do a second season, but so far so good. It's been incredible watching the show. And once again, the Penguin is one of the first DC Studios branded works out there, even though it's Elseworlds in the Matt Reeves universe. Prophet Directors also says that Tom Cruise mummy movie destroyed the Universal Monsters franchise in one film. Yeah, man, that was crazy. They had like a whole thing. Let me see if I can find it. That's kind of messed up. They had like a whole thing planned, and it just never came to pass. Man, this kind of hurts to look at, because you never want stuff to fail. Like you want people to at least give it a chance. That just ended up not being the case. And okay, yeah, I found it. So yeah, that whole thing with Dark Universe, they had all these movies set up, and that just ended up not happening. Like they called their shot. It's like, get ready. You're gonna see Frankenstein and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and Invisible Man. We got all these movies. Man, none of that happened. That was just sad to see. It really was. So thanks for bringing that up, Prophet Director. Trey says, yes, The Penguin is epic. Love it. Stands alone as a gangster film, gangster show. It feels like a film. Like these episodes feel like I'm watching a film, man. It's a fantastic show. And that's why we really need quality work coming out of DC and Marvel. I hear Agatha all along. It has its fans. I'm waiting for the show to be done so I can just binge watch it all at once. I'm not really waiting on that show, but I do recommend The Penguin on Max, HBO. Check it out. I was not disappointed. All right, so that concludes the first part of the show. Once again, if you're curious about Joker Folie, check it out on Max. It'll be there in a couple of weeks. Shout out to Ruckus, the best animal figure ever made. Love that dog. Oh yeah, I'm invested in Victor as a character, and I'm on his side. Yeah, that purple Maserati. Yeah, man, it's like that purple Maserati is gonna get him in trouble. But let's go ahead and let's talk about the next part of the show, the deals. We just recently saw Amazon Prime have their big deal days. Walmart and Target followed suit. Even Wayfair. Wayfair, they have some pretty interesting DTOF alternatives, costing around $200, $300. But if you're looking for a DTOF, you can go to Wayfair and you may have some stuff. Sherlock says, Penguin is on my list. Just watch the Salem Slot remake. Pleasantly surprised. I'll add it to the list. But anyway, you got some interesting stuff here, man. It's like you go to Amazon Prime, you can still find some stuff on sale, some big deals, some big discounts, stuff for the little kiddies. Get yourself some e-scooters. Just don't hit anybody with it. But Target is pretty interesting because you can still save for until this Saturday, $10 off of 40, and you can also save $20 off of 75. Now, I'm not trying to get you to buy a whole bunch of shit that you don't want. I'm just saying that if you're going to get stuff anyway, at least save a few bucks. That's what I always try to do. I always try to save wherever I can. It helps the collection last longer and go further. Pimp Daddy says, my Maserati does 185. I lost my license. Now I don't drive. Hey, man, at least you can ride in style. You got the money. You can pay someone else to drive you. But, for example, so here's the Batmobile from the animated series. $80. But if you have a Target Circle card, formerly the red card, save 5%. You also save $20 off of 80 and then $3 off of 60. Turns into $56.99. I think I saw somewhere this was starting to clear out for $55.99. So this takes it around the same price. So yeah, you can save some bucks, man. And then once again, we have Walmart deals. Once again, stuff for the little bitty kitties. But as far as the action figs go, you can still get that cool 2-pack from Ahsoka, Captain Enoch, and the Night Troopers. One of my buddies, David Speck from Toy Kind of Mood, ordered it, showed up at his house the next day, $35. This thing is on sale now. This looks like a pretty good buy. I highly recommend it. There's also the Mutant Mayhem Pizza Fire Delivery Van. A lot of cats were turning this into Punisher vehicles. They were removing the decals, get some spray cans, and they turned that sucker into a Punisher van. So for $20, why not experiment with it? There's also rest in peace to Ray Stevenson. Balin Skull, the mercenary fig from Ahsoka as well, only $15. So you want to add that to your collection. And there's also, I guess, little people collectors from the Lost TV show. It's only $15. If you're a Lost fan, yeah, why not get it? I'm sure somebody wants this. Good for them. You never know. Turtles fit in there. The Mutant Mayhem turtles do. The Mutant Mayhem turtles are closer to 4.5 inches. Pretty much like this. They're around this size, basically. So there's that. Let's see what else they got here. There's also... here we go. So I'm definitely recommending this. And yes, Marvel Legends fit in that pizza van. $19. So, have it for props. Get some spray primer, go nuts. But anyway, I was a big fan of Transformers 1. I thought they did an incredibly good job with the movie. I think it's underseen. People are going to watch it on streaming and they're like, man, I should have went to see this in theaters. YOLO Park also makes great Transformer figures. So for right now, you can get this YOLO Park Megatron, his precogged form, for $22. You can also get Orion Pax Optimus Prime for $37. Highly recommended. And the same for Elita 1. YOLO Park does great stuff. And right now, these are some great prices. Give them a chance. Try them out if you're curious. I recommend them. I really do. Shout out to Gun Bunny Customs. What's up, man? Thanks for joining. Thanks for making it to the stream. So anyway, if you get the chance, these retailers, they're the closest thing we have to Toys R Us right now. Toys R Us is gone. I mean, outside of the throwback nostalgia kiosks that are over at Macy's. But if you can save money and you can find good deals, Target Circle Week, Walmart Deal Days, Amazon Prime Days, you can really get some good stuff. Shout out to Mr. McFly. What's up, man? Good seeing you. Thanks for rocking with me, dude. Now, let's go on to CollectorCon. So CollectorCon's coming back. It's coming back for October. This is the winter preview for CollectorCon. But I got words, man. I got words when it comes to Walmart. Walmart's system is almost unnavigable. I've been trying to get the retro carded Venom for a friend, and I've been missing it left and right. Sometimes it's on clearance. Other times there's like a dozen other Venom action figures, so no one knows what I'm talking about. That's where having the UPC number or the item number comes in handy. So you can be like, oh, wait, we still have this, so blah, 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 that kind of thing. I keep missing out on it because toy hunting here in Los Angeles, it is a sport. Let me put it this way. And sometimes cats will scoop it up before you get your hands on it. It is what it is. You try to order stuff online, and it sells out in a second. You try to see the price match. Third-party sellers have it inflated up triple the cost. It can get really annoying. It can be difficult to collect from Walmart. But if you get the chance, you can still find some good stuff. So right now, we're going to touch on some things I think are worth highlighting for CollectorCon coming up. We got the preview today, and these links are going to go live on the 17th and the 18th. So that's going to be next Thursday and next Friday is when these links will go up. So let's break them down real quick. We're going to start with the Retro Optimus. Now, that Studio Series 86 Optimus is a must-have. Like, even with the flame effects, when it, launches up into Optimus's strike mode, there's some really cool stuff you can do with that. And now this is the retro version. It's a purely loyal translation of the original Optimus. I didn't have the Optimus. I did have Ultra Magnus, so I may get this to be like, finally, I have that Optimus. It comes with a trailer, it comes with roller, comes with all that stuff. The card art looks amazing. I may legit get one just to keep in box. If it goes on sale, get a second to open, right? But definitely, I want to leave this undisturbed. And also, look at that. I love that. This is one of my favorite pieces of Transformers art. So it's kind of a must-have. The only thing is, We'll talk about the price in a second. Sherlock, you're exactly right. No classified series for the Target or Walmart cons. So there is that. There's also this figure, Ramhorn and Bombshell, retro style Insecticons, and a Rhino cassette or blaster. Once again, pretty cool art on the back. So for retro fans, this Optimus, $75. That's going to be next Thursday. And then next Thursday as well, $35 for Bombshell and Ramhorn. So we'll see how that goes. Let's go ahead and move on to Masters of the Universe. This Skeletor looks awesome. That He-Man Masterverse, man, I remember thinking clearing out. You could get that He-Man Masterverse figure for like $6 or $7. The one that was like the retro style, matching this. So I hope you saved it because you're going to want it to go with this. This looks incredible. This is the Skeletor we wanted. This is kind of what we wanted from Masterverse to begin with in the first place. So it looks like they're doing that. And depending on how this goes, we may get even more retro Masterverse figures. And they'll just keep the line going. So right now it's a good time to be a Motu fan if that's your bread and butter. Once again, this one's $22. Not bad. Mattel has done a great job of keeping their prices low for Origins, for Masterverse, you name it. Even on Mattel Creations, I'm able to get stuff like Demo Man, Cyclone. Still waiting on that Rio Blast. Once Rio Blast comes up, that may be the end cap for my Origins collection. We'll see. We'll see. Never say never. There's also this Reactions playset for the Ark. $75 though. I don't know if it's worth it. You have to love Transformers to spend that much bread on this playset. I don't know. For me, not for me, but someone else may be interested. And then we have Red Laser from the Palitoy Action Force. This is from Super 7. This is their Ultimates. Some really cool stuff. $55 though. But you get hands, you get accessories. It's a really cool packaging, right? And it's straight out of Action Force, Palitoy Action Force, that is. So if you're a completist, you may want to get this to go with your Super 7 collection. Once again, $55. This one is also the 17th on Thursday. I have plans for that retro card Cobra Commander for Terror Drum. And this adds a little interesting wrinkle to it. There might be some cool stuff I can do with that. It'd be a shame to do that to that Vac Metal mask, though. That's the only thing because it looks so cool. I don't know. I'll think about it. I may just get this to put on that. Who knows? Sherlock is saying, Pulse just now charged me for Falcon and Coral. Okay. All right, cool. And yeah, that $22 is a great price for that Masterverse Skeletor. And we also have some more Turtles of Grayskull figures. I know that this line has its fans. People have been waiting for this. They love Motu. They love Ninja Turtles. This is for them, and I'm glad they have those figures. We have Shredder Snake, Snake Shredder, and King Hissfoot. So, cool. And we also have a retro Quicksilver to go along with that retro carded Scarlet Witch, with that retro Vision that was in one of those waves earlier. So if you want that Family Matters trio together and you still have that retro Magneto, or even if you had the Magneto from X-Men 97, that can all go together and you can add them to your retro legends. It's going to look pretty cool. This one's $25. Once again, Thursday. So we got there's some interesting stuff. So be on the lookout for Walmart Collecticon. It's going to be an interesting time. Now, we got to talk Joe's. Joe's are my bread and butter. You know I got love for the brand. And I'm excited for G.I. Joe #1, which will be hitting comic shops next month. This is going to be a brand new start, continuing on from the miniseries that we've been seeing throughout this past year, from Scarlet, Destro, Duke, and so on, Cobra Commander. And now all that's going to combine into one mainline title. This is going to be different from Larry Hama's continuing G.I. Joe Real American Hero that's in its 300s right now. This is G.I. Joe #1, and this is coming from Skybound. So let's go ahead and let's talk about the Energon universe. Can the Energon universe be animated? Can we see this crossover to different media the same way that Invincible did, the same way that The Boys did in live action. Like, can we see this with Transformers? Can we see this with Void Rivals? Can we see this with G.I. Joe? So I am a big fan of G.I. Joe animation. I think that the Joes do well animated. I think they do well in comic books. And I think oh, hold on. Too soon. Too soon, Prophet Director. Too soon. Too soon. But Trey, I agree. Energon universe is great. I'm giving people until basically next year until I start spoiling the shit out of it. But I think there's a lot to enjoy. So let's talk about G.I. Joe, and let's talk about G.I. Joe animated. And of course, I'm going to be talking about not just Sunbow, but really G.I. Joe Resolute. I think that is one of my favorite things having to do with G.I. Joe. And when it premiered, it was just eye-opening, like what this type of animation could do. And it was a micro series on Adult Swim. You can watch the whole thing on YouTube right now. If you've never seen it, highly recommend it. I think this is some of the best stuff having to do with G.I. Joe. And definitely check it out. Like, some big moments happen in Resolute. And I didn't get any of those figures, but I thought this was much better than G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra. It's better than Retaliation. Still to this day, nearly 15 years after the fact, it's one of the best pieces of G.I. Joe media. And it gets to the point, and it really distills what's great about G.I. Joe and modernizes it without talking down to the audience. And that's definitely what you want. So if we can get this out of G.I. Joe, I think it's time. I think it's time that we get G.I. Joe animated back. And I don't think you do what they did for the Hub, what they do for G.I. Joe Renegades, or something like G.I. Joe Extreme Sigma 6. I think you do this. Like, know your audience. Like, the Joe team had to learn the hard way to age up classified series to make sure that the people who were supporting it got what they wanted. And they did. They made the pivot. It wasn't Fortnite, video gaming. They took it back to basics while still making it look like it made sense. Like, if they made the G.I. Joe movie, the classified series looks like the figures that the movie was based on, or it looks like they're making the figures from a movie. Like, that's how good classified series is. So I think that's the move. And I think Energon Universe is how you do it. Yes, Sherlock, love the immersive design. Shout out to Sabir Del Norte. Thanks for joining, man. MCR, Resolute is the best. Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. Check it out. If you've never seen it, you will not be disappointed. I promise you. Now, let's go ahead and go back to Energon. So it's been a successful year for Energon. Transformers made it to issue 12. Void Rivals is still going strong. It's about to have like 10 different printings of the first issue. It's crazy. It's insane. And then also with the G.I. Joe miniseries, they've done very well. I'm collecting them in the singles and the trades as well. I was able to go to Comic-Con, get that stuff signed by Daniel Warren Johnson and Josh Williamson. Blew my mind. It was a fantastic Comic-Con. So awesome. Sherlock, you're right, man. Skybound came out swinging. It was amazing stuff. And now we have G.I. Joe 1 on deck. You don't want to miss this. You still have plenty of time to go back, collect the trades. If you have online comic book reading, I recommend adding these titles as well. Check them out. This stuff is fantastic. If you're a Joe fan, if you're a Transformers fan, check out these stories. Check out these comic book issues. And G.I. Joe is going to have a lot of covers out right now. We saw how well received a lot of the other work from the Energon universe has been. I think this stuff needs to be animated. You can do the miniseries. And keep in mind, when G.I. Joe started with Sunbow, they started as miniseries. You had the the mass device. You had the Revenge of Cobra with the Weather Dominator. Even Operation Dragonfire was a miniseries. So they started out with a series of miniseries before they did the show proper. You can do the same thing here. You can do a Duke miniseries. Do the Cobra Commander miniseries. If you want, you can release them as direct-to-video animated films. That's what DC does all the time. And DC has its own direct-to-video universe that they do. You can do that with the Joes. It's time. It's time. I would love to see Energon universe any way you can get it, whether it's the show, whether it's on films. Cobra Commander gets a film, Scarlet gets a film, Destro gets a film. There are films. These issues, they're essentially movies unto themselves. And then you do the G.I. Joe show, just like you did in the comic form. You can do that with the animated shows. So I think it's time. And the art form lends itself to animation. Like the cartoons can look like this. You can do 2D animation. You can do like what Masters of the Universe, Revelations, and Revolutions did and animated that way. Castlevania, that kind of thing. Put it on Netflix. Put it on Paramount Plus, whatever you got. Any which way but loose. Make it happen. This is some good stuff, man. They got some good stuff on the way. MCR, I totally agree. Joe's has many, many characters that deserve more time. I would love a Dusty or Wakanda miniseries. Yeah, man. If you did a Tiger Force, but an adult Tiger Force, like slicing out guts, Rambo 5 type stuff, it'd be ferocious. It'd be incredible. But this is just some good stuff, man. This is just some good stuff. And you got to get your hands on this on the ground floor. You don't want to miss out on this. It's going to be amazing. Sabir Del Norte says, what is your impressions of the Destro and Scarlet focused comics in this universe? I'm just starting to read Skybound. I think it's great. I really do. I would say go slow. If it's not your bag, it's not your bag. Hell, get your money back. Save your receipt, get your money back. Or re-gift it to someone who is a Joe fan or Transformers. But I'd say give it a chance. It's interlocked. And it's not cheap. A lot of these, just the trades, can cost $15, $17. Getting the issues can be $4, $5, depending on the cover. It's not cheap. Collecting the Joes, collecting Transformers, that's definitely not cheap. So I would say go slow. And if it's not your bag, man, there ain't no shame in that, for real. Profit Director. If you want a successful G.I. Joe movie franchise, just take Larry Hama's comic books and use them as a storyboard. Sin City style, baby. Sherlock. They could do a single show with individual episodes from a different character perspective. I'd watch the hell out of that, man. Are you kidding me? All right, awesome, man. I'm glad. I'm digging this too. I'm collecting everything Skybound right now. Let's keep it going. So once again, really good artwork. Like get in the ground floor. They are doing something new with G.I. Joe when they're doing it right. They're taking their time and they are building an incredible new world for G.I. Joe. I can't wait. I would love to get this Baroness as a figure. I like to get a lot of stuff. I like to get a lot of this stuff. And yeah, you can get the trade paperbacks for Skybound too. Sabir Del Norte asked, does anyone have interest in the comic book sequel to Return of the Jedi series that just released issue 1? I'll take a look at that later. I didn't know that was out. So here's some of the character designs. And it's some really interesting stuff. Like the gunplay. They really went in on some of the stuff. I like Duke's gun. Hold on. We'll get a look at that. Destro in his business crimson suit, the Crimson Twins. Now, I wouldn't mind getting those as figures too. Yeah, like this is some really cool stuff. Some really good stuff. Yeah, there it is. I want that. I want that Starship Troopers looking gun that Duke has. And even the new character that's coming up soon. Mercer is a beast. Yes. Gun Bunny's got some stuff on the works. Yeah. Gun Bunny never disappoints, man. So look, man. Covers Akimbo. A lot of good stuff. Right now, my local comic book shop here in North Hollywood, they have a cover set that you can get. It's going to be pretty cool, man. It's about $50, $65 signed. But they're going to have a signing with Joshua Williamson. And Joshua, he's going to be doing signings all over the place for G.I. Joe #1. So try to get some of this stuff. You can get it mailed to you. Save those. It's going to be worth it. But this is just incredible stuff, man. Look at these covers. It's like this is probably the one time I would buy all these covers. Like this is some really cool stuff, man. You gotta get in on the ground floor. You gotta check up this stuff right now and really, really lock in. MCR, the Baroness and the Joes reminds me of the Scorpion and the Frogtail. Very interesting. McFly says, just start from Void Rivals and release all of them as an Energon universe show. That'd be interesting. You could do a Void Rivals show. Profit Director, CC, pick up that guitar and talk to me, Brett Michaels. Yeah, I guess maybe that was like a shout out to Cold Slither. Anyway, yes, some fantastic variant covers. Let's look at some more of these. Really cool stuff. These ash cans, I was able to get some of these ash cans from Comic-Con, get them signed. Man, that stuff's never leaving my collection. Not ever. I didn't go to Joe Fest. I did go to Comic-Con. Comic-Con was my Joe Fest. I have no regrets. And just look at, come on. Come on. Some of this stuff's going to get hard to find. Some of this stuff is going to be hard to find. You need to pre-order this stuff now so you have it in your collection, so you can have it on hand, so you can just have it put up on the wall. Like, you can frame this stuff. This is art. This stuff is artwork, and they are fully utilizing the complete iconography and visual texture of G.I. Joe for this series. You can see the love. You can see it on the covers and in the pages. So I think it's time for Energon Universe to be animated. I say start with the miniseries. Hell, even toss in Void Rivals. You can do it direct to video, where you can buy it online or get the DVDs, get the Blu-rays or whatever. And then do the show. Test out the market. That's literally what Marvel did. Do y'all remember those Lion Gates animated Marvel movies? Like Ultimate Avengers and like Black Panther and that kind of stuff? Wolverine versus Hulk. Do you remember that stuff? They did that to test the ground to see if they could do Iron Man, if they could do a live action Iron Man movie, do Thor, do Captain America, and everything else building up to the Avengers. So some of the first stuff that Marvel Studios did, they did animation to test this stuff out. I think Energon Universe needs to do the same thing. Skybound already released Renfeld with Nicolas Cage and Nicholas Hoult, the Dracula movie. So they already have credits in theaters, right? This wouldn't have to go to theaters, right? I think Skybound is behind Invincible show on Amazon as well. So, but I could be wrong. But the point is, you can, shout out to Brick Something. What's up, man? Hey, what's up with you, dude? I think Hasbro, they're afraid of pissing off people who back the His Tank exclusively, so they don't want to reuse that mold. But look, man, I back the His Tank. Reuse the mold. It's cool. I give you permission. It's going to be awesome. McFly says, each comic is an episode in itself, so you have almost, if not 2 seasons of the series. Yes, they could just do the show. Marvel did that. Marvel just did the show. MCR, I'm on a poster of that his art too, man. I want this as well. Sherlock will be at Assembly Required in November. Smaller show, but an awesome time. It's great, man. I should have went to Joe Fest. I had to pick and choose, man. Comic-Con was amazing. I had a great time, but Joe Fest is great. Assembly Required sounds like it's going to be great as well. So, what would Skybound animation look like? Would it look like something like this, right? Like, there's some really cool stuff. Yeah, you got the gunplay in there. I don't think it would be for kids. You can age it up a little bit. Let it grow up a little bit. You can see they're going to go in. Like, these are David Nakayama, who's done artwork for Classified series, and he's done interconnecting covers for issues 1 through 4. These are going to be collector items. So I don't think you want to miss out on this stuff. Like I said, now's the time to get in on the ground floor. And I think an animated Energon Universe, animated Joes, animated Transformers, it'll be better than War for Cybertron. War for Cybertron was almost morose. Like, it wasn't a fun, adventurous show. It seemed a very sad show. So with something with Skybound Transformers, you can pick up the pace. And Skybound Transformers starts off intense. You won't believe who ends up buying it, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, they pull no punches. No spoilers, but please read this stuff because I'm getting tired of not spoiling Skybound. All right, so this takes us to the final segment of the show. How to reboot Visionaries. Let me wet my whistle real quick. So Visionaries, I think, was ahead of its time. And I think it was a fun show, really cool theme song. I think that people at the time was just tired of buying toys. Like, it was a show that was out basically when video games really started to get popular. So you had this thing where, you know, kids were playing video games. They weren't really collecting toys. Maybe they were still collecting comic books, Rob Liefeld, that kind of thing. But they weren't really doing stuff like this. They weren't really going to get these figures, still going to Toys R Us to get this stuff. So I think it was just something where it was the beginning of the end of that action figure boom that we saw in the 80s. And but it still has its fans. Shout out to Sherlock saying 6-inch Visionary, 6-inch mask, just take my whole paycheck. Yes, exactly. Brick something. Amen. Couldn't get through War for Cybertron. Too dire to enjoy. I totally agree. Profit director. Visionaries was a toy line where every figure was a Cobra bat. Okay, fair point. That's a fair point. But still, the show generated a lot of love. And I think that in time, if they do this just right, you can relaunch Visionaries for the collector. It could be Fresh Monkey Fiction. They're bringing back Cops, for crying out loud. Cops and Crooks. So if Hasbro lets the license go, Super 7 can probably do some cool stuff with this. And you can bring back the show. Or not. You don't need a show. You don't need a show for this. I just want the toys. We just need media. So the same way that G.I. Joe has Skybound Entertainment right now and has the comic books, right? The retro 8-bit games. We could see Visionaries come back with the toys. And hell, you can do it 118 style, right? And you can do it like Joy Toy or Acid Rain. Do premium 118 4-inch scale figures, right? Save money, save on the plastic, still satisfy the fans. Or you can go 6-inch. You can really do it big. So I say, go for it, man. People, the love is still not there. Please not Super. Man, sometimes Super 7, they can do it right. Sometimes. Don't sleep on Super 7. Sometimes they screw up. Sometimes they get it right. You don't have to do the show. You can just do comic books. So let's go ahead and let's talk about some of the comic books here. The comic back in the day, the 80s and 90s, didn't last long. In fact, it only lasted 6 issues, right? But you could still do this. Mask came back as a comic book. I don't think Bravestar ever came back, but you could do it. Jim, it'd be cool to see Skybound take on Jim in the holograms and just really give it some intrigue because the music industry is a very shady place. More on that later. No Diddy. Anyway. Look. Har. Point is, you could do comic books and you can re-envision it. In fact, they were going to do something similar with this, with the Hasbroverse. IDW was going to do new designs for Visionaries and other things. I don't think that took off, but you could still use this. Hell, hand this off to Skybound and see if they want to do a new Visionaries and just test the waters out. Do a limited pack. Make it a Pulse exclusive. Do a pack of Visionaries. And the thing is, you're not just going to get these Knights of the Magical Light, but you're going to get their character forms as well. So what I mean by that is you have something like Storm Collectibles or Tamashii Nations. They do a lot of work with translucent effects. They do water effects, wind effects, explosion effects. Dragon Ball Z does them. Their MCU stuff, but SH Figure Arts did a lot of that stuff. Bandai does this all the time with Gundam effects, and so on and so forth. So you can still do those animal effects with these updated visionary designs that went unused from IDW back in 2017 and whatnot. You can update visionaries and you can do stuff like this, right? So here's Liu Kang with the Mortal Kombat and the dragon. And that dragon looks insane. So just to show you some stuff, hold on a second. Let me go ahead and do a share screen real quick. There we go. So there's some cool stuff here, man. Like that dragon, it comes originally with the green dragon, but right now I'm talking about the effects. So you can do those visionary effects and still do a good job. So there's kind of the dragon right there. Sort of how the dragon looks. That's a good scale of it right there. And you can do this stuff with visionaries. So, but I would say go slow. Pick about 4 or 5 characters. See what the reception is. That's what Genitoys did when they started doing Street Fighter. Man, the streets are ready for Genitoys Mortal Kombat. But correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Storm Collectibles is also going to start doing Storm Arena figures as well. So they're going to have a true 1/12 scale Storm Collectibles. So I guess that's maybe why they still have the Street Fighter license and the Mortal Kombat license. So Sherlock says, throw some Battle Beasts in there for me too. Ha ha ha. Hey, listen, be careful with cancel culture. They don't care. And yeah, Skybound, I think they would knock out new visionaries. So once again, we also saw this with Fresh Monkey Fiction, Operation Monster Force. So we're seeing translucent characters. And it doesn't have to look exactly like this, but the technology is there. Full articulation, bona fide action figures that have that effect. So you can do the visionary beasts in their companions, and you can do them in this translucent plastic form. It would look bodacious. It would just look amazing, right? We saw this here. Shout out to the homie Trav at Toy Kind of Mood, Travis Moody. He reviewed these. Check out his review, and you can see how well they play and the effects and how well they interplay together. Really good stuff. Jolly Rancher Dracula. They're pretty funny. But the point is that you can do this stuff with visionaries. So you can update that visionary's armor. You can update it with Skybound comics or what have you, whatever. And you can also do these effects the same way that Bandai or other toy companies are using translucent figures to accentuate their lines. So Visionaries is ready for something like this. You can do this at 4-inch scale, 375 scale, 118 scale, but it'd be awesome to see. Shout out to Marvel Legends, Crystar, just as another example. But also we have the Phoenix. So this is like a perfect example of a character in its counterpart in plastic form. The Phoenix Force effect even articulates, so you can move its head around. And I gotta say, I lucked out. I met some really cool toy hunters, and I was able to get this sucker. Target had the sale, saved $10 off of 40. So I am very pleased. And if I can get something like this for Visionaries as well, that'd be awesome. I would at least get like 3 or 4 of those, right? And just keep humming the theme song to myself over and over and over. So it's a good time to be a fan. We're really getting some incredible work from Hasbro, from Mattel, from indie companies, from the Joe team, from the Legends team, and so forth. Let's see what they can do with something like Visionaries. And go ahead and back it up with media. Hasbro likes media. Do a comic book. Do the comic books back. And you can get this stuff. Like, we want this stuff. We want cool stuff. We don't want to be relegated to stuff like Joker Folie Deux or these box office bombs that no one gives a shit about and no one wants to see. Give us something compelling, something interesting, something new. People don't know what this is. Only we know what this is. We already know how dope it is. And Marvel, it was the same thing. We knew how dope Iron Man was. We knew how dope Captain America was, Black Panther, Thor, the Avengers. We were ahead of the curve. People had to catch up to us. They're still catching up to us. So go ahead and do this. Reboot Visionaries. It's time, man. And that's how to do it. Make something compelling. Actualize the vision. using today's technology and today's upgrades with everything from video games, action figures, comic books, and beyond. Be more media savvy, right? And have a point to say about Visionaries. And with that, still do some pretty cool stuff. All right, folks. Sherlock says Hasbro would be the best bet for Visionaries. Price and quality would even out. I feel the same way about Mask. I'm not sure they're willing to take the risk there. Yes, I agree. I think if you can keep that price point, right? This Phoenix set, $50, depending on where it was priced. Some people priced it at $35, Big Bad Toy Store, Target, that kind of thing. And then you can get sales. Like if you were to do $39.99, right? Hasbro's going to Hasbro, so their Visionaries will probably be closer to a 50 manufacturer RS and MSRP retail price. But if you did it right, I think people would still collect those. I think people would still like to do that. One of the first things I bought when I went back into collecting was Motusul. There was like a Masters of the Universe muscle set Comic-Con one year. I want to say 2015, 2016. And that was the start of it. Those Comic-Con exclusives got me back to collection slowly. There's a lot of people that would love to take that muscle stuff. That would be pretty cool. Yeah. I think people are ready for it, man. In fact, hold on. Let me show you. I'm going to share screen real quick because he just reawakened something. So, yeah. Here's was the Motusul stuff. So, it was there. If you're willing to spend some money, you can probably still get your hands on it. It was a fun set. It still is. So there's that. Anyway, yeah, make good stuff. We don't have time for bad stuff. We don't. We refuse. There's too much good stuff out there. If you're gonna waffle, I'm not gonna go see Joker Folie do. I'll just wait for the next episode of The Penguin. I'm not gonna get this figure for that much money, if that's what you're charging, if I can go get something else, especially with all these deals at Walmart, Target, Amazon, you name it. Be smart with your collection. Enjoy it to the fullest. Have fun with your toys. Have fun with your comics. Have fun being a collector. And go and be picky, because not everything deserves your money. Not everything is worth the money. It just isn't. And if you're not careful, in the name of supporting a brand, you'll buy something subpar just because of something slapped on the label. Be more discerning than that. You're worth it. So is your collection. Definitely your pocketbook. Folks, thank you so much once again for your time, for joining me. It's great to be back. Black Genghis Live. I'm always saying I got stuff in the works, but that's because it's true. I'm busy, but I want to have fun with it, and hopefully you're having fun too. So thank you very much for your time, and thank you for once again enjoying the show. Shout out to Sherlock. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Raucous for Figure of the Year. There you go. Go ahead and get Road Pig, get Raucous. SCS the dog, what's up, man? Thanks for joining, dude. Anyway, oh man, I went an entire show. Yeah. I'll never learn, I promise. McFly, thanks for that. Like, share, subscribe, all that. And don't say that you caved, man. Hopefully you enjoy that. Hopefully you enjoy that. If you don't, keep the receipt or re-gift it or flip that sucker on eBay. But you don't have to cave. Like, just enjoy your fix. Enjoy yourselves. With no guilty pleasures, only guilty people. Enjoy that stuff. And you can slow it down. You don't have to get everything. I haven't gotten Road Pig yet. I haven't gotten Raptor yet. I'm still waiting. I'm glad that stuff is on the way. Let me know what you think of that Falcon and Quarrel. And anyway, once again, thank you for your time. Have a great weekend. Until next time, we'll see you around. This has been Black Genghis Live.